I'm going to introduce people very quickly here. We have Tyler Mitchell from Oakland County, SISMA. We have Sean Duke from Cardinal, and we have Kevin Daniels, and Kevin Daniels from Independence Township DPW. And the next person who will be speaking will be Sharon Hurlbert. She's going to be giving us a nice history of what's been going on with Phragmites in Independence Township and Deer Lake, how we started treatment a long time ago, the progression, etc. Go ahead, Sharon.
We actually began thanks to a friend of mine who lived on Deer Lake. She's since moved, and her name, many of you will know it, is Elizabeth Wagner. And that was in 2008. Elizabeth noticed something strange down at the north end of the lake. And she didn't know anything about this strange plant she was all of a sudden seeing. She had been here since the 70s, 1970s, so she'd been a resident a long time. At any rate, she called the Michigan State Extension Center, and a woman came out and identified it as Phragmites. We have this great photo of a Phragmites root. So it's by rhizomes it spreads, it knots together like that. That's how deep it goes into the earth, and that's why we cannot get the runoff into the soil. That's what helps our aquifers. That's what prevents all of the petroleum from the asphalt highways and our roads and the dirt that comes down with the rainstorms. It's these good plants with good root systems that go down, but the rhizomes block it, and you can see why in that photograph. It prevents water and recreation, and it gives us limited access. And those of you who have been here in the Clarkston area know, if you were here as long as I was, late 70s, 80s, I could always see Middle Lake until the Phragmites came. And then, over the years, I couldn't see Middle Lake anymore. All I saw was Phragmites. So this is what occurred earlier. This is what is now because of treatment, and I have a few photographs or images of that as well. What are the control techniques? We have Sean Duke here from Cardio, as Lori said, and he'll go into that. I'm just going to skim the surface quickly because you as an individual resident, if you see this invasive, you can treat it yourself. It depends. Now, I have to say that this outline here is not only for Phragmites. We have other invasives as well, but we advertised Phragmites today. There are other invasives. Buckthorn is another one we're worried about in our Oakland County area. So it depends on the site and the characteristics of this particular plant. We need the herbicides. We wish we didn't, but we do. And it's all about someone being properly vetted and knowing what they're doing, when to treat it, and what to use. But you as an individual can do it yourself. So how do you do that? Nice kit was put together by the North Oakland Headwaters, and actually parts of the Parks of Stonewood, thanks to this Emily Dutenth, who now heads the Oakland Land Conservancy. They worked and put a whole kit together for the individual, and you can get your hands on that even today. And it's simply cutting it at a certain time of year, bagging those beautiful grass, those seeded heads that people, 10 years ago I remember people cutting them and decorating their doorways in the fall, you know, making it beautiful, and all those seeds floating through the air and landing elsewhere. But we didn't know any better. We just didn't know any better. So you would cut it August, September, and then you put the, usually it's called, it's shore clear. And I never pronounce this right. maybe Sean can rescue me here. Glyphosate is the ingredient that kills it. And that's the kit that I just showed you, the gloves and everything, with a little pamphlet that tells you how. Images, this is how tall it was. We hired someone, they did a big burn. Then we had in the summer of 2013, and these are the different treated with an herbicide. And then we have winter 2014, and then 2014, but we've got some back. This is the group that treated a picture of most of the people, and then we did a great sign that came through the wild ones. Well, actually, it came through Elizabeth Wagner's family, I think, subsidized this great sign that explains it, has these pictures that I just showed you on it. It's right at Middle Lake, facing White Lake Road, across from the Township beach. And so these were the main partners that came together, who really advocated. Linda Lipinski, and I'm sure the gentlemen who are going to speak after me know Linda. She has since moved away. And Elizabeth Wagner is here, right there. I don't know how clear that's holding, but those were the initial people involved, and they really made us aware and gave us a way of joining together as individual homeowners with our township, with our village government, and with our county government to really get after this invasive and make a difference in our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Again, my name's Tyler Mitchell. I work with the Oakland County SISMA. That's our acronym that stands for Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area. So,
I found it.
It's a mouthful, but we go by the SISMA. There are several SISMAs in the state. The state is right now moving towards trying to set up a SISMA in every county in Michigan. So there's some being formed in Lake St. Clair, Macomb County right now. There's existing SISMAs or collaborative groups all over the state that have been up and running for 10 years. So there's a lot of, it's a big spectrum in there. Oakland County SISMA is pretty new. The group has been together for about 2.5 years now, but we've been kind of formally working under a state grant program for about a year now. So this was kind of our first treatment season. Just a little description of what our program is. We were really formed out of the kind of the discovery that it's really not working, that we're all working in our own backyards and trying to tackle this problem without looking at how we can collaborate and how we need to be a little more strategic about where we're spending our money. The issue of invasive species is always going to be here. It's just a matter of prioritizing and working together. The other part of our mission is to reach out to people like you folks. It makes me very happy to see this many people interested and engaged with working with invasive species. I know they probably have come into your life and into your yard, and you're just trying to fight back. So we want to help equip people with the knowledge of what they're up against. We want to be able to connect homeowners like yourself with our partners. So we have several cities, villages, and townships that we work with, as well as nonprofit, non-governmental organizations. You had mentioned Sue Julian and Emily Duthin of North Oakland Headwaters Land Conservancy. So we work with several partners like that and basically try to connect them with the people from their area and make sure that they're equipped with the proper education resources, put them in touch with people like Sean who can come, diagnose the problem and give you, sort of a light at the end of the tunnel. And there's a huge advantage to this. Sean's going to talk about it a little bit more, but basically by working together, we're able to solicit out bids from several different contractors that can give us a really competitive prices for treating these invasive species. And we ask then that our contractors pass on that price to you. So basically, whatever we can negotiate at the county level, those same rates will be, applied towards work on your own property. So it will hopefully, when we all get together, it's easier for groups like Sean's to come out to a neighborhood like in Deer Lake and treat everybody at once. It saves on a lot of fees. Working with the township, you're able to work under the permit for the state. Anytime any herbicide is sprayed near a water body, it has to be permitted by the state. One of the great things is, rather than you guys having to go out and pull these permits and go through all that red tape and pay the fees, you're able to spray under the township's permit. So that's a big cost saving there as well. So that's kind of who we are. We're looking up. We're growing. We've got about 28 partners now. I know you see this list here, but we're growing even beyond that. So we don't currently have a formal way for homeowners and volunteers to be involved, but I would encourage you guys to reach out to me if you think that the SISMA can be of assistance to you and help put you in contact with the township in your area. If you're a homeowners association and you want to get involved and you want to, kind of see what we can bring to the table as far as putting you in touch with a contractor and getting your lands treated, that's what we're designed to do. So
we'll kind of walk through and look at scale, what the proper treatment methods are for different densities of infestation, and look at some criteria for success. So again, I'm Sean Duke. My company is Cardno, and we've been treating invasive species in Oakland County since I've been with the company. I started 4 years ago, and we had contracts with the county parks in place since at least going back to 2010 to treat several invasive species, not just Phragmites. So now I'm going to go through, I have 3 slides, I think, on the different methods that we use in particular. Like you would do with the small spray bottle, the drip bottle, and cutting, we do a similar thing here for low density infestations. This is called hand wicking, where we put a chemical resistant glove on and then cover it with a fabric glove, like a jersey glove. And then we use a spray bottle to soak that down and then swipe that along the whole, all the foliage on the plant. And it's very effective. It minimizes off-target damage. And this is Middle Lake from last year, actually, in that restored zone. So we didn't want to affect any of the native plants that had grown in there. So we used this method. Second is our low volume foliar treatments. This is where we normally use the backpack sprayers. These are 4-gallon backpacks, and they're good when you have to travel a little bit longer distances. We do a lot of transects in the county parks because they're larger areas. You could carry 3 to 4 gallons in the pack, and it'll last quite a while. This method minimizes off-target damage, not to the extent that the hand swiping might do, but you could be pretty careful if you get your wand right up on the plants. I think I want to mention here on the photo and with the white outline, that's what you'll see, the yellowing. That's like a moderately sized stand of Phragmites, and you'll see that normally a week to 2 after treatment. Now, that's all dependent on the weather and climate factors and things like that. Also, you have to remember when you're doing this, water quality for your herbicide mix is a huge deal. If your pH is off, or you have suspended solids in there, the herbicide will bind those very easily, and you can completely lose your treatment if you're not pretty careful with that. Third is our high volume treatment. So this would be more when there's a large scale stand, maybe a couple acres or so, dense Phragmites. This is out on the Clinton River where it gets pretty thick in the disturbed zone, the shoreline zone. And so we use like gas powered pumps on boats or Marshmasters, but we bring in the bigger equipment that could spray farther and cover more of an area. Now, obviously, this is more than a one-time treatment.
Okay, if you haven't treated in the fall, and then is there any reason why you can't do a burn in the spring of the year like you were talking, or must you treat first?
You really have to treat first one way or another, because the burn will top kill it, but it probably won't get all of the rhizomes, not hot enough normally, especially when you're working in a wetland. So really to be effective, you know, yeah, Sharon has something, so.
I thought sometimes we would burn spring, summer, or early summer, and we would cut in the winter, because that way the chemical that would be used September, October, before frost, would then have a greater result, a faster result.
Yeah, you can do that. Of course, you can. So one of the big reasons for like cutting or burning, if you put this in perspective, is really to remove both the standing dead material and the thatch, so you can access the you know, the growing shoots. Right. Yeah, it wouldn't probably be effective there. But really, that's the big thing. That's a good point. Is that what you're really doing? You're killing seeds with the burning, which is great, and you're moving the other vegetation, the dead vegetation, out of the way. And there are, like in that wet prairie I showed, some of those plants are adapted. They're fire adapted, so it actually promotes those to grow faster and more vigorous. So it's got value for that too. But if you're thinking about, you know, just controlling it with burning only, it's yeah. Yep, and then you, like Sharon said, you can, I mean, if you cut those stems, you can, even during the dormant season, you can, that chemical will work its way down, you know, eventually into the plant, into the roots. But, I mean, the timing is critical, so.
You cut the stems now when it's frozen and you walk out there and do that?
Well, they're gonna be dead, yeah, right now they're dead, but if it's like later in the season, you could do that, yeah.
So that's one of the helpful side things, is that you really optimally are putting it on after the swimming season.
Sure, but I was saying, you know, that the fish are there year round, and then the next year, and the next year, and the next year, that's what.
It's my understanding, Sharon, you can help, is it it doesn't have the other ingredient that penetrates the frogs and the fish. That's what they're giving you in the packet is missing that ingredient that comes in. What's the usual stuff you use?
Roundup.
It's not the Roundup. If you put Roundup there, it's gonna penetrate the skin of the reptiles and the fish. What they're giving you doesn't have that extra ingredient that Roundup has. So if that's of any help, I'm not a scientist. I just know what I've been told.
Do you ever do water testing? I mean, like the next season?
Yeah, we can offer that. The problem is it degrades so quickly. They're not likely to find anything. So these go through these chemicals go through a federal review process, and then MDEQ, the Department of Environmental Quality in Michigan, is very restrictive. And so they put these chemicals on an approved list, and they are the aquatic formulation, which means they don't have the adjuvants that would make it more persistent or that would make it dangerous to aquatic life. So there's been testing from everything from, you know, macroinvertebrates to fish to birds, and they have a list of approved chemicals for that. So that's what we have to follow, basically.
Has there been any studies done about the drinking water? Because we all have wells that live around our lake, and I'm not sure if this chemical's going to get into the water system.
So I am not familiar with any cases of finding it, and like I don't think it would, unless you're pulling your water directly from the surface water. I don't think you would find. I'm not familiar with any studies that have looked at that, but my feeling is that it would not be mobile enough to get through the sediment surface and then through the soil, because it binds to soil and then it's degraded by bacteria very quickly. So for it to move that far to where your drinking water is coming from, unless it's from the surface water and there's no treatment process, any way to remove it, then that's a possibility. But no, I'm not familiar with any studies that have looked at that specifically.
So if 1 out of 10 people in the community decide to do it, is there a threshold that makes sense or doesn't make sense as an individual versus an entire community? Because if you look at it, if you said, if 1 out of 10 people do it, and is that one guy just going to throw his money away year after year in order to try to maintain his property, or does it make more sense? Is there some threshold where it says you have to have 6 of 10 people do it?
I mean, I think I'll pass that to Tyler, but I would say if you're going to do that, I would do something like this, like do a more intensive restoration where you're planting, dense native plants, be it shrubs or forbs or whatever, and then at least you're doing something, on a smaller scale. But Tyler might have other.
Give you that you can pass on to them as far as if you need to introduce some motivation, as far as, maintaining your property value. There's studies that people in the state are doing now about, this huge effect that Phragmites presence has on property values. It's something like $3 a meter is what your home decreases as you get closer to Phragmites. And it's something that we can give you a lot of information for. We're happy to talk to people. If you want to organize something with your homeowners association or group, I'm happy to come. I'm actually going out to meet with homeowners association next, was it August?
It's in March.
March, okay. I better check my calendar. But yeah, we're happy to help you leverage your neighbors and come together. Like I said, working with groups like Sean's group, Cardno, and working with your township, we can get you guys a more competitive rate. But like Sean was saying, if you live in a neighborhood where everybody's stubborn, you can do something like this where you're kind of, you can clear out your backyard, and doing a restoration like this makes it a lot more resilient to reinvasion. So once you have a healthy plant community and not just a bare lawn or bare dirt, that'll help prevent it from reinvading.
Kevin Daniels, who we've worked with, it's your Township SISMA representative, and he's got some great ideas about kind of coordinating this approach, so I'll turn it over to him.
Well, I'd like to start by thanking Sharon and Tyler and Sean for showing up and speaking, and also Ken and Laura for getting this all together for us tonight. They pretty much touched on it real briefly as far as how we're going to try and approach it. The more people involved, the cheaper it'll get, in a sense that if you have it done and another guy on the other side of town have it done, and you don't have it done on the same day, there's logistic fees there, We are trying to set up, Sean and I are going to work directly and put a program together where we can have a permission slip readily available on the Independence Township website, where you can click on it, you put your information on it, you forward it to the contractor. Sean is who we deal with right now, Cardno, and that would speed the process up. What that does is it allows him or his staff to access your property, get a good survey of it, get the data, go back and put a price together for that individual property. Once he's gathered all those property informations and quotes, and he sends them back out to you, if you sign up for the program, you then agree to have him work under our permit, which there again is a cost savings, and speeds up the process. So this is all subject to change as far as with board approval. We've got a lot of things we got to iron out, but we want to make it as simple for you as well as for us to get this project off and running. That we're going to try and make it to where it just pops up, they click in their information, and they forward it to, the contractor. The contractor can then gain access to the property to prepare a quote for that individual.
Thank you.
Yep.
This is something you're actively working on now, so we should, like in the next month or two, be able to hopefully put our information in there.
All the information there. Sean and I have to iron out deadlines. He doesn't want to have 3 come in this week and then a couple more after his deadline was. So we have to sit down, work our way back from treatment to set those little deadlines up, so it makes it more effective for everybody.
Most of the discussion has been primarily on the Phragmites. and this might be the proper, not be the proper venue, but in our particular subdivision, there's a retention pond, say 2 or 3 acres in an open space area that's filled with, we had someone from DNR or DE come out and they identified like 4 different species. What's the one that has the vine that climbs up and chokes the limbs of the, what's that called? Bittersweet. Okay, bittersweet was one, but bottom line, this particular area has 4 of these invasive species. Do you have any advice or solution as to how to get rid of those types of things, buckthorn, bittersweet, and that are just invasive and just grow up and, in my mind, serve no purpose other than a natural berry, which some of the neighbors would rather have than it be treated or gotten rid of?
Here's how you treat it. They're set up for homeowners and landowners to go after it themselves. And really, when you can handle it yourself, we want you to handle it yourself. Obviously, that's the easiest for you. If you think it becomes such a big problem that you can't spend, all the time and money on it, then we want you to look to someone like Sean, who can come in and do a kind of a larger scale project. But yes, there's information available. The DNR, and then MISSIN, who Sean mentioned, it's the state agency working on invasive species information, kind of disseminating all that information. They have excellent guides on what we call best management practices for each species. So you can learn how to treat and contain, how they spread for each individual problem plant that you have.
Is there a group in Clarkston that meets on a regular basis that talks about how to control and fight invasive species, not just Phragmites, but all invasive species?
I don't know of one.
That's a very good question, and there is a group. And it is a national group now because we were a small little local community, the Clarkston Watershed Group, morphed into the Wild Ones. And you can just go online, wildones.org.
I'm kind of here representing Deer Lake Farms neighborhood. So if I said, if I checked on the website and then when we got into the spring a little more, sent out an email telling everyone that they could go to the Independence Township to have more information about their Phragmites on their own property, because there's, I jog, and so I see neighbors all over the place and some have them, and and others don't. But if they want to get rid of them, that they could then learn more there and sign up, and so that's what I should do.
Well, as far as getting a contractor to work for you and working under our permit, the best bet would go to that website, the web page, and hit the link. That first step would be getting a permission slip to allow that person and his workers to step foot on your property. If you are interested in treatment of your invasive species on your property under Independence Township's permit, you should fill out a request form by either stopping by the DPW at 6050 Flemings Lake Road or by going to indtwp.com. Once on the Township's website, click Departments, Public Works, then Invasive Species. Please note all of the request deadlines as well as treatment dates. Then click Request Form, fill it out, print, and sign, then email it or mail it to Sean Duke, whose information will be provided on the bottom of the form. Upon filling out the request form, this allows the contractor to inspect property and write up a quote. At that time, the property owner may choose to enter into a contract with the understanding that the costs will come from said property owner.